Climate change is a widely accepted consensus among scientists that the Earth's average global temperature is rising, largely due to the overconsumption and exploitation of fossil fuels and their release into the atmosphere. The burning of fossil fuels releases greenhouse gases, which are carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and methane. Carbon dioxide is largely associated in the increase in global temperatures and the main contributor to climate change, also known as the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect is when carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases act as an insulator in the atmosphere, trapping heat from the sun and preventing it from radiating through the atmosphere back into space, ultimately causing an increase in temperature, melting the polar ice caps, ocean acidification, and sea level rise. The leading contributors to the greenhouse gases are industrialized countries that are heavily dependent on consumption of fossil fuels, such as China and the US, which can be seen in the map that represents total carbon emissions from 2015. Beijing, China, was called the air pollution capital of the planet according to Jonathan Watts, and China, the air pollution capital of the world. In addition to producing the worst pollutants of nitrous dioxide, they are the second worst emitters of greenhouse gases. The physical evidence of health problems can be visually observed by the smog blanketing over skyscrapers. The hardest part is implementing the new eco-friendly policies in an economy where short-term profits have priority over environmental regulations. Also, large areas impacted by deforestation, such as the Amazon rainforest, are areas where release of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere occur due to destruction of trees, which help regulate carbon dioxide in the atmosphere through photosynthesis. The effects of climate change in the atmosphere can be viewed around the world through loss of biodiversity, habitat destruction, sea level rise, ocean acidification, rising global temperatures, and even extreme weather systems, all due to the increase in greenhouse gases being released by humans' overdependency on burning fossil fuels. Ocean acidification can be attributed also by the emissions of carbon in the atmosphere. The oceans act as a buffer and absorb gases in the atmosphere. Therefore, the more released carbon in the atmosphere, the more carbon that gets absorbed by our oceans, leading to lower pH of the oceans and ultimately the destruction of coral reefs such as the Great Barrier Reef off the coast of Australia. Because of the inability to withstand pH changes of such magnitude, destroying the ecosystem, such phenomena is called coral bleaching. Another issue associated with climate change and the release of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere is sea level rise. The levels of the oceans are rising due to the greenhouse effect warming and melting polar ice caps, and causing the meltwater to run off into the oceans, therefore causing ocean levels to rise. This poses problems to coastal communities all over the world, not just because their homes and businesses and surrounding areas could be underwater, but because an increase in warm water can cause tropical storms and hurricanes to intensify and occur more often, since warm water is the recipe for these catastrophic events. However, the greenhouse effect is not all bad. It is actually essential for life on Earth. Greenhouse gases are naturally produced gases occurring in small trace amounts, keeping the planet warm enough to support life. But the issue with these gases is that even a small increase in the atmospheric composition can and will have negative impacts on global climate, the environment, and humans' way of life in general. But what is being done? The American Clean Energy and Security Act of 2009 is just one example that implements a cap-and-trade program on carbon emissions and provides incentives for creating energy-efficient and low-carbon energy consumption. This is designed to lower the release of greenhouse gases in the U.S. However, it is not all that's being done. Transitions from fossil fuel energy to solar, wind, and nuclear power will and could have significant reduction in carbon dioxide emissions, along with multinational policies like the Paris Agreement that was signed in 2015 to reduce emissions and keep global temperatures below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, with proper implications in place to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases and to have multiple nations agree that there is a problem. It is possible to limit the amount of damage done to the atmosphere that affects the environment.